What's up? This is Brian Sigmund with Nate Hirschberg. We're two investors originally out of Charleston, South Carolina. I live in Arlington, Virginia. We're going to shoot this podcast hopefully 1 to 2 times a week and put it on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, all those other platforms. Just need to figure out how to do that. I'm originally an investor in the residential space in Charleston, South Carolina. I did my first flip in April 2018. Since then, I've grown quite a bit. Brought Nate on at the beginning of this year. Have a contractor with 3 to 4 crews. Try to do 3 to 4 flips at a time. Usually that's in a 4 to 6 week period. On the year we've done, well, it's over 9. I don't know. It was 19 as of last week, but we've gotten a bunch of deals since. We have yet to do the B2C side, but we currently have about 10 deals in the pipeline. And I basically was managing the residential side remotely anyway. Like Nate would go on all the seller appointments, and my contractor would send me pictures and request draws, and that's kind of how we did it. So I never really left my house. So then I decided to move up to Arlington, Virginia for just a different change of pace, and primarily look for commercial multifamily deals. So mobile home parks, multifamilies, over 20 units, trying to build up passive income and equity for Nate and I. And that's, if you have deals in the commercial space, even the residential space in Charleston proper, Charleston, the Tri-Counties, love to look at those. My email will be attached to this description, and anything commercial I'll look at. So just getting into that space, I'm really interested in seeing every deal I can.
Nice. Yeah. So as Brian said, my name's Nate Hirschberg. I joined up with Brian the beginning of this year. Prior to that, I had tiptoed in the real estate space, but my bread and butter was always in the fitness industry, and then ended up taking a little bit of a wild ride in sales consulting with Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, which is pretty wild. But really excited to be, paired up with Brian on the residential side. Like he said, if you have any deals in the Charleston or surrounding areas, send it to us. Be happy to take a look at it and see if it fits our buy box.
Yeah. And then our first episode we recorded with the Butler Bros. They're out of Mississippi. They do a lot of commercial real estate, and they're really successful entrepreneurs.
Hustlers, yeah.
So we're gonna segue there, but
I'll just do a quick introduction really quick on you guys. So basically is Daniel and Jeremy Butler. They're 2 brothers. They started in Florida, and then they moved to Mississippi. They built a roofing manufacturing pre-steel building company from 0 to 30 million in 8 years. We met them at Tim Brass's mastermind event in Charleston, South Carolina on Isle of Palms. They're probably out of like everyone there is super humble, but they're probably the 2 that are like the most soft-spoken, humble. You'd have no idea that they're multimillionaires. And they're just all around good guys. So I don't know, Nate, if you have anything to add, but.
Yeah, man. I mean, you nailed it. Super humble guys, and they have reason not to be humble. Like that's great success. And I was in business with my brother, and I don't know about y'all, but it was good when it was good, and it was bad when it was bad. So hat off to y'all.
Well, we'll talk some about that.
What? So take us through, like, so you guys didn't grow up in Mississippi, but you live there now.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Central Florida?
Grew up in North Central Florida, kind of on the, we call it Central Florida. We're really on the west coast of Florida, a little small town called Horseshoe Beach, Florida.
Okay.
And not many people's ever heard of it, so we just tell people we're from Gainesville. That's, that's the largest town that was closest to where we were raised. But yeah, it's a really small fishing village there. Just, I don't really even know the population, but a couple hundred people maybe. No stoplight. I mean, a few stop signs, but no, no police there in town. Just a real remote place that just, it didn't have a police force there. had the county served it. If there was a need, they would call in, a deputy, stuff like that. So just a really, really small town, and really a great place to grow up in Florida, because it was, most of Florida is everybody knows it as the big commercialized places with the beaches and all the hustle. But this was really remote, laid back part of Florida, where it was, a lot of hunting and fishing and outdoor stuff without all the, I guess, the commercialization of things. So
yeah. And so Daniel's a year older?
I am. About 14 months.
14 months.
So just barely, yeah.
So how did that work? So like fresh out of high school, like not skipping anywhere, but like fresh out of high school, you guys started roofing? Or you obviously graduated before he did.
Yeah, it was actually it was actually a little before that, though. I think I was 16, Jeremy. Does that sound right, when we did our first roof?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. I was 16, you were 15. We did our first roof in a little neighboring town there called Swanee River. And an older gentleman kind of subbed us out. He'd seen some of our work that we were doing there locally, and he felt secure enough, and he believed in us enough to sub us out on this. So he sold the job, and then we went and installed it. And I think it was, if I remember right, we finished it in a half a day and made about $500 a piece. So we were, at that point, we were hooked on roofing.
At 16.
That's
yeah,
good
wow.
at 16. Yeah.
That's crazy at 16. And then, so did you demand more? And he was like, if you want money, you got to start your own thing? Or like, so 16 to 18. So 16, 2001.
It just kind of took off from there. The word got out. There was another older gentleman there in our town of Horseshoe that seen our work and our work ethic. And he was kind of new to the town. He was from Daytona, but a large real estate investor, and he was buying up some properties. So he started using us, and even had us come over to Daytona and do some projects over there for him. But he kind of gave us the confidence to really step out and go ahead and go forward with it. And at the time, I would think it would be in that same range there, 16, 17 year range. And he's seen something in us and believed in us, and like I said, started using us. And so we, from there, it just kind of started taking off, really wasn't planned. It just kind of happened organically, but, it never ran out of work for as long as we, we're down there doing it. It slowed down at times, in 08 for sure. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but always we're blessed to have plenty of work. And,
yeah. So college was never a thing. College was like, no. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, never even really considered it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Not even living in Gainesville.
No.
Did most of your friends go to college?
Yeah. We had a lot of friends go to college. Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, like college was just like always like you're going to college. Like there wasn't any.
Yeah.
We wasn't really. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say we wasn't really encouraged to. I mean, obviously, if we wanted to go, they would support it, but we wasn't just always pushed to. You got to get a college education by our parents and all. They were kind of a little bit the other way, more wanted you to work, and then I guess you make good money like that early on. At 16, 17 years old. And then there was times where, roofing wasn't the most desirable trade to be in, but it paid really good money. And if you're willing to get out there in the heat and work really hard, you can make really good. So, we was making a lot of money, way more than, or more in some cases, than people that were going to college, what they were getting paid when they got out with a bunch of student debt. So it's like, it's just kind of a passing thought. Like we just didn't really entertain it.
Yeah. That's crazy. So after so this is 18, 19 then. So do you start getting employees? Was it just the two of you and then you started getting employees, or?
Yeah, it was just the two of us for a while, but I would say by the time I was 18, we probably had 2 or 3 employees by then. And yeah, so that happened fairly soon. probably looking back, wasn't the best bosses at the time, but pretty immature and really at the time, was still doing the party thing and all. But so at a young age, we were definitely employing, workers, and so started learning that fairly soon. So
how to get responsibility.
Yeah.
The difference between business and pleasure. Before roofing, were you guys always entrepreneurial though? Like, did you guys, I don't know, do yard sales or like do anything crazy like that?
We used to mow yards a little bit when we were really young, but I think I personally credit a lot of it to, we had a brother-in-law that before we started roofing at like 15, 16, I think I was 13, 14 range. After school, we'd go and work for him, and he paid us 100% production pay to build these self-storage buildings. Like, see these little barns and little small buildings in the back of people's yards, for storage. And we would go in there and work really hard, and the harder you work, the more productive you were, the more money you make. So we could get there early and knock it out by 2 or 3 o'clock and be done for the day on a weekend, let's say, or get there after school and work late and make good money depending on how fast we worked, and still had to have quality. They would inspect them when we were done, make sure the quality was there. But if we could do them fast and quality, we made good money there. And that was prior to roofing. And that's kind of where, you would have to put roofs on them, even though they was really small. But that's kind of where I think the other guy that Daniel was talking about subbed us out on that job in the town over. He's seen our work ethic in there and was comfortable kind of vouching for us, if you will. But I give a lot of credit to my brother-in-law, Jeff, for giving us that shot at an early age to come in and build his product there and paying us just what the rate was, what anyone else would make. Even though we were young and still at home and didn't have a family, we still had access to make what the guys that did have a family and wife and all the support would make, and didn't diminish our thinking to think that we should settle for less if we produce the same product.
Right.
We got the same benefit, and it could have very easily, and we'd have been fine with it at that time, say, well, for half the price or whatever. But I think a lot of our not getting stuck in the employee trap come from that. Seeing, hey, there's ways you can create that value and build something.
Knowing your worth early on.
Yeah, and I don't think whether it was intentional by him or not, we didn't see it at the time. But looking back, I think that was a real game changer.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you have anything to add, Nate? I don't know how to flow it between the two of us, but I was just gonna go on to the dynamic of like as brothers and like what like took you to the spot where like you went from 2 to 3 employees to like how'd you make the transition to doing, because I had to look up like how far Jacksonville was from Panama City. It's 4 hours. Like it isn't just a 30-mile radius you were working,
We would just go depending on the job. If you got a job out there, we would go put it on, whether that was us or when we were the busiest in roofing, probably in 2006, when the economy was just really good, maybe let's say 2005 to 2008. We would do, I don't remember, probably hundreds of roofs a year, but at one point we had, I think, 3, maybe 4 crews going. So I would pretty well full-time do a lot of estimating. Daniel would do a lot of estimating and overseeing the crews, but I was more, probably more estimating than he was, getting the jobs and bidding them. And then, so during that time, the farthest we worked was down a Marathon Key. There's a job. It was a local, he was a veterinarian there in the town close to where we was at. And we'd done work for him on his other properties, and he had a vacation house and he needed a roof put on it. So we went down there to, put that on. And then other people that live there in that area that own properties, like over in Jacksonville, or like Daniel mentioned to Daytona, we would just, as there was a need and we got referrals or, sold a job, we wasn't afraid to travel. And really being young, it was kind of a chance to get out and we'd go to Jacksonville. We did a job there that was down probably 6 weeks long, that big commercial building we did. 6-8 weeks long. So, stay over there and just, the way to, it's kind of almost like, it wasn't a vacation, but we kind of mixed it in where we, we have a good time when we're out of town as well. So
Yeah.
that helps when you're single.
Yeah.
To kind of look forward to that side of it too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So what really ramped it up? Like the word got out, and then I guess the caveat to that is like, why go into walk me through 08, I guess, like the recession.
Yeah, we went from like 3 crews and just job after job, just, people calling. We had a lot of word of mouth and we did a couple billboards, but we had a supplier that would give us a lot of recommendations, but we really took a lot of pride in doing people right. I think we kind of had somewhat of a disadvantage that we had to prove ourselves when we went out because it was so young. We get a lot of comments about, the school let out early, all these things, when we would show up to measure their jobs.
Did school get out early?
And so I think by that we had to kind of overcompensate by really doing a good job. And one thing we was big on was keeping a clean job site. We see people even to this day, they do a job and stuff blown all over the yard and won't pick it up at the end of the day. And most of the time won't pick it up when they're done with the job and haul it off. But I remember a lot of Saturdays we would, that would be the Saturday morning, would be hauling 2 or 3 trailer loads of, stuff off the job sites that we'd built up all week. We'd go haul them off, and just little things like that that would go in the extra mile instead of just leaving them on the job site, even if it was cleaned up. We always left the job like we found it, and then just did a really good job on the install side too. So that was, I think, what created the demand, just word of mouth growing from that, and got a lot of people that would call us to put on their roof. And it wasn't so much about price. We'd be competitive, but we wasn't never trying to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
If you were to give one piece of advice to younger entrepreneurs looking to start their own business, going through what you have gone through, what would that be? It's one piece of invaluable advice that would have saved you guys so much time, energy, money.
I'll let Daniel go first on that. I would say get into real estate earlier. Invest your money into real estate.
There is an easier way, right?
Yes.
I would say work really hard and make a lot of money like we did, but invest it. We spent a lot on the river and boats and that type of stuff, and had a good time. But one thing too would be to invest in yourself earlier, man. It wasn't until like 3 years ago that I ever knew that books like Rich Dad Poor Dad were out there. So that really changed our life as well as millions of other people. So
yeah,
that's something, on the self-development side would be to read. Looking back, at the time, I guess audiobooks wasn't so much of a thing, but probably could have got cassettes. But we'd spend a lot of time driving to and from job sites. Some of them be an hour and a half away. But looking back, that was a lot of wasted time that we could have been listening to stuff.
Yeah. Right now, I'm sure information is more ready and available.
Oh yeah.
But one of my mentors always said, your network is your net worth. So even when you're young, I think it's important to get around people that are doing things that you want to do, and just be in the right group.
Yeah, I mean, no one told me about masterminds. Like, there still isn't even a lot of information about masterminds out there. It's just insane.
Yeah, that would be a huge one too, is to get in a mastermind of what you're trying to do. Get around people, like you said, that's already done it, and shortcut the learning process.
Yeah,
I mean,
we had a talk by the pool. You're like, you don't know what you don't know, kind of thing. Like, you just don't know what else is out there. Especially being young. Like, you think you're making decent money, but then you get around other people, you're like, wow, I'm not making anything.
Yeah.
I was like 21, 22. So making like $60,000-$70,000 a year. I was like, wow, this is great. I've got all this money. And eventually you'll get beat by the humble stick.
Yeah. You get crushed.
Yeah.
So circling back, so 2008 hit, or was it, you saw the slowdown in 2008? Like, why jump ship to manufacturing?
When the bubble burst, I guess in Florida, it went from just the phone pretty well stopped ringing, and so we went back to just putting the jobs where we were not installing at the time. We went back to us and like one or two other guys for probably two years. We started just installing ourselves,
Yeah.
and had to downsize to meet the lower demand. So that's kind of how we stayed alive during then, and was able to still make a living. But I don't know, we probably for a year or two we wanted to get it more in the manufacturing side, and so I think we had a desire to do that for a while before the opportunity come along. But
Yeah.
we're just kind of riding it out there for a while, trying to figure out what to do. But
So the only thing I know about roofing is there's 3-tab and architectural shingles. That's all.
Yeah, we didn't.
That's all
we
I
didn't
got.
do neither.
Yeah, I know.
We did metal, so
I know. But I mean, so I'm like completely foreign to this. So
Yeah.
was the 1 to 2 mark where you wanted to do something else? Was that just because it wasn't fulfilling, or like in it was it a combination of it not being fulfilling and the phone stopping to ring and you having to do different tasks again?
a combination probably of
Yeah.
both of those, but also, I mean, it's hot in Florida putting on roofs, and it's hot
Yeah.
like 9 months out of the year. So, you just do a little bit of reflecting, like where you kind of see life going, even though you ain't really thinking about a lot. But we just knew that we didn't want the long term be about, on these steep roofs, and it's dangerous. And a lot of them on the coast are really high. They're already up on stilts, and then they're 2 or 3 story on top of that.
Yeah.
And steep cut up, and it's just a lot of hanging from ropes, and just it's not desirable really work conditions. The money was good, but just really wanted to get into something going into our thinking about getting late 20s, early 30s. That would be a little better line of work.
Did you sell that business, or it's like it was just too transactional? It doesn't really. There's
No.
nothing really to sell.
And that's a good point too, because going back to like Rich Dad Poor Dad and the business, the cash flow quadrants and whatever, that was really just a self-employed deal. The vehicle just wasn't there to ever make anything more than what we went out and made. It was transactional. So at the end of it, we had some property, we had an office, and some little bit of real estate, and a bunch of tools basically, and a good reputation. But
Yeah.
we didn't really have service contracts. It wasn't built around like some type of commercial companies. They would be more, they had contracts, stuff like that you could sell. It was just word of mouth installation business. So whenever we was no longer the face of it, and doing the work, it kind of, there was nothing really there to sell other than just our tools. So
Yeah.
10 years of work, it was a lot, making a good paycheck, but at the end of it, there was nothing left. So
A high-paying
another good
job.
reason to, high paying job.
So then 2009 or 2010 is the new journey.
We moved up here in about this time, actually the first week of July in 2010.
No way.
Thinking about it's been actually about exactly 10 years. Yeah. We knew a guy that he wasn't kin to us, but actually his brother is married to my sister, but no blood relation.
Okay.
My brother-in-law is his brother.
Gotcha.
So he had a metal company that he had going for a few years up in here in Mississippi, but it's in the south part of the state, down close to the Louisiana line. And he was looking to branch out and kind of joint venture with people to grow into other states. So somehow we got to talking about it, and long story short was we partnered with him to move to the North Mississippi area here and start using his name in which is Reed's Metals. And we just kind of he was, looking back, was about the best partner you could ever have. He really gave us a lot of opportunity to go and take something, to back us some financially, but really give us the tools and support to go and grow something out and not be in the day-to-day and like really a micromanager. He's kind of opposite of a micromanager. So we used his name and come up here and started a location from kind of the ground up. And, there wasn't, didn't know a soul here in the area, just knew that we wanted to sell metal. And I think one thing that really helped start it on was that previous experience on a job site where we knew what it was like to be a roofing contractor and what we expected from a supplier, and trying to then go and be that for those people. So
Right.
that I think was kind of a competitive advantage, looking back, that was able to relate to the guys out in the field. That was mainly our customers. Some homeowners would come in, but mainly we're still in direct to contractors. So
Yeah. Business to business.
easy to relate to them. Yep. We saw their need and they continued to come back and treat them well. But so that's kind of it, in a nutshell, is that we just grew up kind of a grassroots thing. The first probably 6 months, it was just me and Daniel kind of going into the winter. Well, I think we had one guy as we opened in September, had a guy that helped us till probably about November. Then the winter hit, and it was just me and him.
This is so at this point you have a commercial space that you're fabricating roofs out of.
Yeah, we leased a building.
Okay.
And we have some machinery in there, pretty selective machinery.
Like CNC or like a press, or you use CNC?
Yeah, they call it a roll former. So it takes big coils of pre-painted metal and runs and puts the rib styrations in it, and then cuts it to length. So, and then some press brakes to make trim and ridge cap stuff like that out of. So
you have a commercial space. The guy you went from Florida, the guy was in southern Mississippi, and you went to open a market in northern Mississippi.
Yeah, well, it's about 4.5, 5 hours north of.
Okay. He wasn't doing any business there at all.
No, we didn't.
In that part of the state.
No existing accounts that we took over now.
Okay. And then so you just hit the ground running, contacting contractors to sell them material directly.
Yeah, we would do some radio ads and some billboard stuff like that. We did a lot of cold calling too, and just looking up phone book and ways, referrals, and just kind of a grassroots thing as well.
Nice.
Try to find contractors and then we'd go out and meet them, try to build some rapport, and just, one thing we just try to get one job out of them. If we can't do you a good job, we don't deserve your business. So just ask for a chance. That's all we could really ask for.
So end of the winter, or like end of year one, what was the revenue?
End of year one, let's see. Well, the winter was really slow.
Yeah.
And
winter of a recession.
Yeah, it wasn't a great economy then either in 2010. So coming out of the winter, we probably by the 1 year mark of September, we probably had 2 or 3 employees by then. So I would think probably a little over $1 million in sales, maybe.
Yeah.
I think our first maybe 1.5. I don't remember exact.
And then like not necessarily year 2, but I mean, what year was it like? Okay, double digits, or like over 10 million, or like?
Well, in 2014, we opened another place up about an hour and a half north of us, up in Jackson, Tennessee. Kind of built that one from the ground up as well. We had a little bit of business up there from our other place that's now more established, but it's kind of hard for some reason to sell across the state line. I think just knowing they was buying from out of state was kind of.
What state line is that?
Thing. A Tennessee, Mississippi state line.
Okay.
So, I would say probably about Daniel, was when we started Jackson, was we at 10 million in sales in Tupelo? I'd say really close. So
yeah, I would think
4 years in, maybe about 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
At what point did your production level get to where you guys took a step back and you're like, holy crap, this is real. Like this is no longer just like a little operation. This is getting real.
Probably several of those along the way, but I don't remember really just one specific time. But it was double digit growth every year. Sometimes 20+%. So it's just constant growth, and a lot of just a lot of hiring, working on processes, and there was a lot of moving parts of that business with manufacturing, inventory control. And
what was it that you would say that, obviously you were doing, 20% increase year after year after year. What was it that made you guys keep wanting to grow and not say, you know what, we're doing 10 mil a year, whatever, like, let's just get complacent and keep this thing going?
Man, I think looking back, we never really seen it as at the time as a mastermind, but they're probably along in that time, 13 or 14, year 2013, 14, we started. So there were some other locations that he had started, Bernie had started in other states. So we started getting together every quarter and just kind of going over what we'd meet at a different place, and we'd see what they were doing that was working, what wasn't working. So it's kind of like we had our own intercompany mastermind looking back. And so there was kind of a competitive thing come from that, I think, that internally that helped us push. But other than that, I don't really know. We enjoyed it, I think, and it was fun and enjoyable, stressful, but it was a challenge, that we liked. So I think that was a motivator for me. Daniel, maybe you can add
No, I agree. Excuse me, guys, my throat's a little scratchy today, but no, I agree. But partly we're just we're just always wanting to improve. Like Jeremy said, it's the next phase. We're building new buildings, building on welding shops, and just we're just not really satisfied with status quo. I mean, we're always wanting to take it to the next level. And so I think that's why. And looking back, maybe we should have, because there were sweet spots in it, for sure. Like in the one here in Mississippi, the $8 to $10 million range was a real lucrative spot. We made really good money. It was real efficient. And then, so, looking back, there were spots that maybe we should have leaned out and just kind of stuck with, but I don't know. It was fun. We enjoyed the challenge and taking it to the next level. So I think that's one of the reasons, it just, and then Jackson too, that was a big leap of faith to go out of town. It took a lot for us to get that store up and running. One of us were there every day for the first year and a half, 2 years, Jeremy.
Yeah,
I mean, we put a lot. Yeah, we'd leave out of here at 4 o'clock in the morning, get up there early enough to open the doors, stay, and then shut it up. So I mean, we were hustling to make all this happen. But looking back, it was well worth it.
That's insane. And then I know Fatty. So Fatty's is he is he Tim's CIO? He's gonna kill me for not knowing. He's something in his executive team, but he was like, I don't know, it was one of the days, I don't know if it was you, Jeremy, or Daniel, but the memo, he was like, you guys have a memo that basically, doesn't sugarcoat anything that a new hire can expect to a new place. And you basically just say, like, you read them the riot act basically early on in the hiring place to weed out the people that you don't want.
Yeah. So that was actually part of a EOS implementation that we were doing back in 15 and 16 area. And part of that was to define the hiring process and basically do what we did and make like a memo that anybody wanting to come on and as a team member would read before they even interviewed. So the first thing you would do if you come in to do an interview, you would sit down and read this 4 or 5 page memo explaining what type of work environment and what type of employee we're looking for. So it was really impactful. It weeded out a lot of people that just didn't line up with our core values and our work ethics on the front end. We laughed about it. It was so funny because you'd have people that would come in and read it, and it's to the point. I mean, it'll shock you. I mean, to come in, and especially in this day and time, for somebody to be that blunt. And so you'd have people come in and read it, and they would forget something in the car they'd need to go get, and then they'd never come back in. So it did what it was intended to do. But it was something that looking back, I wish we would have videoed it. I think we could have done a better job explaining, with the passion that we had and what we were trying to put in writing. I think we could have done a better job with a video form, but it really was it was a good thing. It really helped us scale and to find other like-minded people, we called them rhinos. I won't get into all of that, but you can read the book Rhinoceros Success and kind of
check that out.
get where we're coming from there. But we called ourselves rhinos. Those that read the books could relate to it and understand. But it just created a work environment that people that were like-minded would come in and thrive.
Yeah.
You enjoyed coming into work. And looking back, we almost created almost like a cult. I mean, you have people that would come in and just, they were passionate about everything they did, from greeting the people that come in the door a certain way. You know, the greeter had to do certain things a certain way. And so out of that, we actually came up with an acronym, WIWT, that stands for What I Want This. And to boil it all down, it's basically the golden rule. It's do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And so that applied to every position we had, from, like I said, greeting the customers as they come through the door, to building trim in the back, to loading the customer, to delivering the products. Everything you did, we tried to ask ourselves, you know, if I was getting this product, would I want it this way? If I was coming in a business, would I want to be greeted this way? And so it just really aligned all of the arrows. Everybody knew where we were going, what we expected. It kind of acted as a QC check as well. You know, if you're building a piece of trim and you scratch it, is it a big enough scratch that if that was my piece of trim, would I want it or would I not? And if you wouldn't, you toss it and build another one. So I don't know, I'm kind of rambling now, but that's kind of,
no, that's good, man.
That's really kind of what all of this kind of what it created, and it turned out to be a really beautiful thing. You know, just a lot of hardworking people that come in, did really well, and that's another thing. We paid really well. We expected a lot, but in return, we paid very well, and so you know, we attracted a lot of top talent from creating this environment.
Did it ever, was it always 100% accurate? Were there some that fell through the cracks?
Oh yeah. It was a work in progress, you know, and there were people there that, looking back, we probably should have got rid of because they didn't line up with the core values that we were looking for. But you know, and here's another thing we've learned through our years of managing people. You know, sometimes people improve, you know, sometimes, you know, I've improved a lot, you know, and so we're all about giving second and sometimes even third chances, you know, and we have seen people really improve. So looking back, there's the ones you give the fourth and the fifth chance to, that after a while you just need to go ahead and do the 30 minutes of pain versus living with it. But I don't know, hopefully that makes sense. I kind of went off on a rabbit trail.
No, that was good.
There,
I mean, it sounds like, you know, you kind of had to perfect it. Sounds like it wasn't just you write the memo, you're done with it. It was like, you know, maybe we're too intense, maybe we need to chill out. Maybe, like, it sounds like, I don't know. It's
it was
sweet.
a balancing act for sure. Yeah.
For one thing, we you know, he mentioned EOS, and that's the traction book. If any of you have read that, but implement that. We hired an implementer to come in quarterly and help us implement that. But I remember telling a lot of people, you know, you implement something like that midstream and you already have, you know, 40, 50, however many employees and already doing a lot of business. It's not everybody there fits what you've defined, you know, 5 years into a business of what now that you want to hire and fire by it.
Yeah.
And so we tell people, you know, you come in, this ain't necessarily where we're at, but this is where we're going with it, you know. And so you may come in and see somebody that maybe ain't just exactly lined up with this, the speech or the memo, you know, that we was talking about, but just know that, you know, we know, and that we're, you know, trying, whatever reason, you know, they're still here, but this is where we're going, and look at it that way instead of where we haven't arrived yet. You know, we're still on the trip, but we know we have a good understanding of where we want to take it.
Right.
And
try to get them to buy in on what you want in the future.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So how do you then sell that business? Or like, so did you own it from Reed at that point? Because am I wrong to assume that you were outperforming all the other locations?
Well, we won't comment too much on that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean,
On
I don't
this,
know. Dan, you can comment on it if you want. But
I'm just
I
curious.
won't get too deep in the weeds, but the year we sold, we were 30% of gross sales, and our EBITDA was 40%. So, yeah, we did really well.
Yeah, in terms of, okay, I gotcha. And then, so was it still like technically a franchise? Like, did you sell it back to Reed, or did all the stores sell at the time, or?
yeah. Yeah, so they all sold, but they were all individual LLCs with separate joint venture agreements
Gotcha.
per LLC or S corp. So,
So
but they all sold as one transaction. Yes.
So it wasn't your decision to sell then?
Well, we supported it and
Yeah.
and was fine with it, but it was it was kind of, I guess, a group thing.
Yeah. Okay. So see, I thought you guys made a decision like we want to do something else now. We're selling. So the decision came from up top.
Well, with our partner, yeah,
Your partner, sorry.
Yeah, he
I'm
decided that it
I'm
was
not taking
best,
anything away from you guys.
No, it was his decision, but we talked about it and we supported it, but we felt like we was at the top of our game and wasn't really looking to sell one like we cleaned up a struggling company and tripled the market. It was something we was all, we talked, randomly from time to time about maybe one day doing that, but it come a lot sooner than we all anticipated. And so it was, something that everybody supported and was fine with going to, moving on to the next chapter in life. So
I don't even know how you'd like market that or find a buyer for like all those was it another?
Well, that's what I was going to say. We actually weren't for sale. We had a buyer pursue us and they came after Bernie really hard. I think he threw the first couple of offers in the trash. I don't think he opened them, but by the third or fourth, he opened it and it was really attractive. So, he started considering and it just kind of happened from there. But yeah, we really wasn't for sale when it happened.
So, okay. So then that happens and you're like, what do we do? Or you had already gone to Commercial Empire?
No, this was before we'd ever heard of Commercial Empire. But
so now you entered your party phase again.
No. When we realized that we was going to sell and make some money from it, and that it more likely was going to happen, then we started. I guess that's when we really started researching everything out there on investing and stuff like that, and just kept coming across multifamily. That's when we started reading a lot of books and watching a lot of YouTube videos and podcasts and all that, just really immersing ourselves in what's next, because we realized that it wasn't a long-term play anymore. So that's whenever we really learned a lot about commercial real estate, and we had already bought our first two deals. Let's see, end of August last year, we bought our first deal that was a 40-unit multifamily deal here in town. Nice. And then followed up by a 20-unit deal in September. So, and then somewhere right in there, probably October, seen a Facebook ad, I believe it was, for Tim. He was, if I remember right, he was walking a property talking about, putting the work in and renovating these properties and forcing appreciation and doing cash out refis and all this. And you just could tell he was different than a lot of the other people out there that was just traditional syndicators and looking to, get a little tiny piece of the equity to put a deal together. But he was getting more equity but he was doing a lot more work and more responsibility. So decided to go check that out at one of his events. And that was in, I guess it was the end of November in Tampa, end of November in Tampa.
19.
That's when, yes.
And,
so
and
9 months ago.
So you guys had no interest in single family?
Not really. I mean,
yeah.
We just, everything we researched is just, the multifamily was the way to go. And that's kind of what we focused on.
Yeah.
Not hating on single family. We've done some of that since, but it's just, it's 2 transactions and you have 60 doors and on 2 addresses. I mean, it's more attractive that way to get where we want to go, I guess. Not that we wouldn't buy a single family house if it was a good deal. We've actually bought a couple this year. So
for sure. So I don't know if you want to talk about So you got, what is it, 64 units then? 40 and 24? Or
60, 40
60,
and 20.
40 and 20. And then you did commercial, and then Nick came out, and then you did another, was it 100?
So Nick, let's say during the last fall, we really had a lot going on at the old company there. We were still there full time. So we kind of
Really?
lost a little momentum. We had momentum. We did 2 deals, and then we got extremely busy there with implementing a new system and accounting system and inventory changes and stuff like that. So it took a lot of focus there for last fall. And so we kind of lost a little momentum on deal flow. But then Nick come out in February, and we started doing their system on the way they find off market deals. And so since then, actually the week he was here was in February was my last week at the old company and job there. So it's kind of a little preoccupied with some stuff going on there, but tried to make the most of it. But anyhow, since then, yeah, we've started to build that momentum back up. We're full time out looking for deals every day now, and have some stuff that's in the pipeline, either under contract or going under contract or whatever. So we're still haven't closed something since those 2 deals, other than some single family, but we're getting a large pipeline full of
Yeah,
deals
I
now,
mean,
so
these deals take time, but they're worth it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and how did you source the original 60, and how are you sourcing the ones that are in the pipeline now? Is it all brokers? Is it lead gen? Like, however you're comfortable talking about it.
The first one was a broker. We looked at another property here in town, or actually just the next town over, and it didn't really make sense, but just, kind of build a relationship with him. And he just was asking if there's anything else he knew of that may interest us. And he mentioned this deal may be coming available pretty soon. So he brought that to us. And then the second one was a local wholesaler that we come to know. And he brought us that deal. Since then, though, the stuff we're working on right now has really been the direct to seller type stuff that, well, I'll tell you about it. We got a mixture with some deals in the pipeline with brokers and direct to sellers, but we do a lot of cold calling right now to property owners. And just
are you guys doing those calls?
Yes and no. We're doing some, and then we have a guy that helps us some as well. So
nice. We just started using I don't know if you met Danny and Nathan. And they have like call to scale. Their cold callers are like solid.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're affordable too, but we can talk about, I don't want to pitch that right now. Get them on and pitch it. But that's good. So broker, wholesaler, and then cold calling.
Basically and that the 2 that we have under contract right now, we have a 130 unit and an 18 unit with some mini storage. Both of them came through Reonomy and us doing our own cold calling on them. So
okay, yeah. The only thing with Reonomy is the 1,000 pulls. You know, because you can cold call 1,000 people in like very quick amount of time, and then you're like, well, what can you do? I can text, I can email, but
do you guys do any like marketing via email to brokers and stuff like that?
We're doing some through I believe we're using GetResponse, I believe, for our email. Haven't really mastered that, or haven't been as consistent as we need to be, but yeah, we're probably send 2 or 3 blast emails out a month, I would say, and trying to mix that up with some value add content, not just always be like, hey, we're looking for deals, you got anything? So trying to give a little, or give more than we were asking for on that front. But
it's a long con.
Yeah,
it's a long process in email.
Strength in numbers.
Drips.
Yeah.
So what keeps you guys motivated now? Like why you obviously probably don't need another 1,000 units or whatever. What keeps you guys motivated now?
Jeremy, you want to go first on that, or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go. I think for me now, it's being in the mastermind helps a lot. I mean, because you want to come the next quarter with some new deals. You're doing
Yeah.
so. But I think it's just back to being grateful and looking at things for I get to get up every morning and go out and focus 100% of my effort on growing long-term wealth. It's not a get rich overnight or get rich quick scheme, but being able to focus and not just have it as a side hustle, but be able to focus my attention on that. Every day of the week is I really like that. But I think it's just a long-term plan of growing out a lot of units that provide residual income. To me, is what keeps me going, knowing the power of it, seeing it a little bit firsthand, and then knowing if I can do it, how good this has been, if I can get a lot more of it, and then kind of secure your financial future and then have a lot to give back,
Yeah.
That's for me is that. I think it's just is basically doing that. And then too, when you get kids, that's something the kids get old enough to start paying attention. That I do it for them too, to be able to see, to try to educate them financially on stuff, because the school system in the world ain't going to do it. So try to give them that edge, and let them see me doing what I tell them about. So that's a big motivator as well.
Sweet, man. That's great.
What's the target? What's the target that you guys are after right now? How many doors are you after?
We're after doors and equity, so we're trying to do a balance. But we set a goal of 2 years. We want to have 1,000 units within driving distance, like let's say a 2-hour radius to Tupelo. Ideally, closer than that would be better. But so it'd be 1,000 units that we would retain. We know we're going to have to raise private money for that, so we're looking to give up some equity for that. But we'd like to retain 70% of the equity if we can. So say 15 to 20 for private money, and then some other people find the deals or boots on the ground, stuff like that. But if it's here pretty close, we feel like we can focus on that and retain more of that. And that's our goal. And then after that, we'll see what's next. But that's what we're really focused on right now.
Yeah. We cut you off, Daniel. Did you get a chance to talk about what motivates you, keeps you hungry? Is it a lot the same?
Oh yeah. I would line up with what Jeremy said on that. My family, I do what I do for them at the end of the day. I want a better future for them. I want to leave them in good shape and leave a legacy like we hear at our masterminds. That's
for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree with everything Jeremy said on that.
What are your longer term goals? Like, do you even look out 5 years? I mean, we don't really. We have a 1-year goal, but 5 years is a bit intense, I guess, because just you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah. Like Jeremy said, we're really focused right now on our 1 to 2 year goal. But I guess for me, if I gave it any thought at all, it would be to, once we get there, maybe start looking at the money side a little more and doing more of the passive thing,
like lending.
Yeah. Do more lending, maybe raising money, just the money side of the deal more so than the work side after we reach the 1,000 unit mark.
Yeah. Do more, work less.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think you guys are capable of that, but
yeah.
What does your everyday routines look like? Like wake up time, exercise, podcasts. Yeah,
for me, I mean, it's it varies a little bit, but an ideal day would be, waking up in the morning, spending some time with the wife, drinking coffee, reading the Bible a little bit, maybe doing some prayer time, and then on the way to work, trying to listen to something positive, get the day going there with some positive things, like maybe Bigger Pockets or some kind of podcast like that. And then at work, typical stuff, just I won't get into in the weeds with that. But we try to do some luncheons every week. We try to have 2 to 3, 4 meetings a week where we're meeting local investors, kind of networking. We do a lot of that. And then for me, after work, I have a farm. I raise some beef cows as a hobby.
No way.
So I have a 100-acre farm. I spend a lot of my after works there doing things on the farm with my family. And then try to exercise at least every other day, run, walk type of thing. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for me. Jeremy, you probably can add to that.
Yeah, mine's similar. I guess, like you mentioned earlier, I'm doing the 75 hard. I'm on, I think, day 59 today. So one of my goals is to not lose track of that and mess up right here at the end. But that's really created some good routines for me. And as a result of that, my day currently looks like getting up at 5 o'clock. And then I read my 10 pages first thing when I have my coffee, getting woke up. Then normally by about 5:45, I'm out the door doing my morning walk for 45 minutes. And during that time, depends on who goes with me, but I'm by myself, a lot of times I'll listen to some motivational podcast or audiobook, stuff like that. Sometimes I'll just intentionally leave my phone at the house and just, disconnect from it. So a mixture there. Come back, get a shower, get ready for the day, try to sit out and have a little more coffee, wake up even more. But I like to sit out on the porch and just write down my goals for the day and kind of prioritize what I'm trying to get done that day and kind of read over some power phrases and stuff like that to kind of get your mind right. And hopefully the kids are up by then. It's summer right now, so they're sleeping in a little bit, but spend a little time with them. My wife, which she's been doing the 75 hard too, so she's been going on a lot of the walks with me. So
nice.
So that's good, and get to spend time with her, and then try to be out the door by about 7:30. And I got about a 20-25 minute commute down here to the office, so a lot of times I'll putting on another podcast or something, listen to on the drive.
Yeah.
And then Daniel said we're really making a point to try to connect with other investors in the area, network for lunch. And
how are you guys promoting that? How are you guys promoting those luncheons? Email?
A lot of it's just calling when we cold call these property owners, we just say, we're just like we met last week with a big developer in the city about 15 minutes from here, and cold calling him about a self-storage. I knew that we found that he owned and looked him up and seen he was the owner. So called to see if he wanted to sell, and he actually has it under contract right now with someone else. So a little late on that, but just said, we're looking to connect with other investors in the area and see if we can maybe work together on something. So find a lot of these investors are pretty lonely, and they, it seemed like, I wouldn't say lonely, but a lot of them willing to go talk to people that's like-minded and want to do deals. So it's pretty easy to set up appointments.
There's just no good forum out there for like driven people in real estate in these cities, so.
Yeah, a lot of it's just getting on the phone and calling them, trying to set up. Actually, another one we had set up Friday actually got rain messed it up and whatever, but they bought a property that we were looking at here in town, and they had already bought it a few months ago and just realized that, and they're doing a value add deal on it. So trying to meet with them and see if there's any way we might could work with them and help them on that. Just network and just trying to be open-minded to other ways of, even if you maybe lost the initial deal, is there a way we can come help these guys with maybe doing more renovations than they was planning on or something? I don't know. Maybe may not work out, but just connecting with these guys.
Sure, there's always opportunity. Yeah,
and letting people know what you're doing, and so then be to work and get home and then try to do something with it. The kids ideally,
speaking of which, I wanted to that kind of segues in. I wanted to share my screen. I don't know. Is it sharing?
It just
there we go.
Shoot. These two videos, like, I hope it plays. Oh man. Oh, there it is. Like, Jeez, what was he shooting at? Just a log? And this guy is like,
Yeah.
this guy is like, how? Like, is that what you do in Mississippi? Like,
Yeah, that's a good pastime for us.
I showed
Yeah,
Nate
that-
the video. He's like, that. Yeah, that was exactly what my childhood looked like.
I grew up on a 300-acre farm in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
We leased out the land to cattle, so like that was my upbringing.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can relate for sure, but yeah, that's what we do. So,
How old are those kids?
my youngest is 5, and the older boy there is 11.
Oh, okay. That's not. I mean, I don't know. That wasn't my childhood. I've fired a gun a couple of times, but like, that would be sweet. It would have been sweet. Were you guys shooting at like logs or something? What was that?
It was just bottles, and actually we found an old one of these. I think they call them Crocs. These shoes that people wear. You know, it's kind of like foam.
Yeah.
And so it was cool. It would never sink. You keep shooting it over and over. So.
You have kids. You have kids too, Daniel, right?
I do. I have 5.
5. Wow.
Yeah, 3 boys and 2 girls.
Wow, that'll keep you busy.
Yeah.
And do you take them shooting or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're always doing something outdoors. For sure.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And you guys said you had boats earlier, or did you leave those in Florida?
Yeah, well, we left the ones we had in Florida there, but yeah, got a tri-tune that we take out on the lakes
No
here
way.
locally. Yeah, and we try to spend some time on the lakes and then do a little fishing here and there. So,
Yeah. I don't know if you have anything else to add. That's kind of everything. If you want to talk more about lifestyle or, what making all this money, what you're spending it on, or any of the fun stuff.
Man,
Yeah,
I'm pretty boring. I was gonna say I'm pretty boring on that part. I'm just really trying to buy assets right now and then let them fund liabilities a year or two from now. So I'm not buying a lot of toys at the moment, but I'm just really trying to build out this goal and I guess delay some gratification a little bit there. So
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do the same to a certain extent. I do have a few more toys, maybe than Jeremy, but with the farm, it's always something that you're doing there. But no, we don't live a large life. I mean, it's pretty simple, but we enjoy it. We try to get on several vacations a year. Spend a week or so off in Florida or somewhere. So. Other than that, it's work, man.
Yeah. You guys are crazy. You guys, I mean, we were going around the room and there's like all these high level individuals and everyone's like saying they'd want to, I forget how it went, but Jeremy was like, I can't stop and go. Like I can't stop and take time off and go. Like everyone's like saying we work to a goal and then kind of just live off the fat of it. But then like Jeremy was just like, no, that's not me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll never not work. Like I couldn't just go sit on a beach for a month and I mean, you'd enjoy it for a while, but it would, I don't know. I guess I'm just not wired that way, but I'm just trying to really think now, once I get this next goal, like I enjoy what I'm doing now. I've enjoyed the past 10 years, what we did there. I guess prior to that kind of enjoyed it. I don't know how you enjoy roofing, but now I'm just trying to think of, what I like doing and what I'm really passionate about, stuff like that, and trying to do that. And I guess the goal is just never to be in a job that you hate, would be a life goal for me. But I'm always going to be doing something. But like Daniel's saying, maybe it's not so much physical work. At some point, it's more maybe funding deals or whatever. Maybe it's sponsoring loans. It's just get more on the money side and less on the work side, I think. Would be the long-term goal. So
that's great. I don't know if you have anything to add, Nate, but that's pretty much the whole sheet. We've been on about an hour.
Yeah, no, I really don't have anything else to add. We pretty well covered a good amount. Maybe what would you guys recommend? Do you guys have like a go-to podcast that you guys recommend that gets you right in the morning? I know you mentioned Bigger Pockets, but is there anything else?
One I really love that I'm listening to right now a lot is because it's got a lot of mindset and investing podcasts. So he's got a mix on there is Ron Khalif, and it's let's say I think the name of it is. Bear with me a second here. It's Ron Khalif Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. So I listen to that a lot. And then another one I listen to a lot is Michael Blanc, the Apartment Investing with Michael Blanc. He's got a lot of good guests on there and offers a lot of value. So
Nice.
that'd be my top two go-to right now. And then audiobooks, listen to some the Ultimate Jim Rohn collection. So that's a good one.
Writing these down.
Yeah, same here. Nice,
Well,
guys. Other than that, I really don't have anything else.
Thanks for taking an hour out of your Sunday with us. We really
Yeah, I
appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for inviting us too.
Yeah,
And,
you guys killed it.
I hope so, man. I guess you can tell me personally, I'm not the best at this kind of thing, but I'm trying to improve. So
Yeah,
This is our first podcast ever.
We just got to get
really?
we just got to mention the memo. Then you won't stop.
yeah, I get fired up about that one.
Yeah, this is our second one, but man, we're honored to be with you guys on your first one. That's cool.
Yeah, appreciate it.
See you guys going for it. So
yeah, I'm trying to get everyone in the mastermind, so it'll be there's a lot of high level people in there. So
yeah, that's a great opportunity. Just the people in that room, I mean, that's what 40 podcasts right there.
Yeah, and I mean, like, everyone has something to add, whether they just came in real estate or they're like Evo has a trucking thing or like whatever. I mean, it's just trying to get in a mindset like you guys and like trying to think and be as like professional and operate that like I'm like terrified. Like I'm excited for the next mastermind, but I'm like I really need to, like, when you go around the room, you want to have something that you spent the last 3 months on. You know what I mean? Like you can't show up empty handed.
No.
So,
yep.
But thanks, guys. We'll
Thank you guys
sign off, and we appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too now.
Bye.